Hi everybody, welcome to episode, I guess, 5 of streaming sessions on Sundays. We do these every Sunday in the afternoon or evening. But we're just kind of hanging out today. We're going to be doing the Baltic family tree and discussion next Sunday because he was a little tight. I was still trying to complete it, make sure it's available for purchase while we're presenting it. But today we thought we would, what we were doing anyway is kind of just chilling out and working on a map of Xandria, a kind of fantasy world. I've got Callie here with me. Say hi so
Hi.
people know you're here because I don't have it. Mhm. So we are, I've got up here on Photoshop, basically Xandria. It's a fantasy city. And what Callie's got over here, if I open this properly. I pressed the wrong button. Okay. My goodness. If I got over here, I open my Obsidian, I'm able to see some of the art that she's generating. If I refresh here, this is kind of how we do it. So we got a Photoshop file right here with all kinds of generated stuff using generative.
Jumping the gun a little bit.
Yeah, I am jumping the gun, aren't I?
Backpedal. So first and foremost, like Fantasy City doesn't really describe what this is. This is a long-term project of Josh's and mine.
Very generic, yeah.
This map, the height map for it and the features that you're seeing are his passion project for geography and studying some of the dopest cities in history and like some of the most prolific cultural centers. And we hypothesized that there was probably some correlation between, take for example, like the Greek Acropolis and being particularly conducive of an environment for intellectual development. So we went and we looked at places where there's like prominent campuses or historical sites and looked at the terrain and the geography, and we found actually it's not like idyllic all the time. Sometimes it's pretty rugged terrain or you have to kind of work around, and sometimes that creates really interesting spots or features for people to get together and discuss overthrowing the government or whatever. As you do.
Like you do.
Yeah, so do you want to point out some
I
of
just
the
showed a little
areas, I
bit.
guess, that you sourced from? The overall concept is our favorite ancient city being Alexandria from Ptolemaic Egypt, because it represented such a melting pot of different cultures and traditions and intellectual work, and seemed to be a really prolific hotbed for the spread and preservation and growth of knowledge. So that's what as you can see, this is the other way around how it geographically is with orientation north, but the overall shoreline should kind of evoke, if you're a big time nerd like us, memories of that period. But what are the other areas that inspired you, Josh?
Yeah, pointing it out, this whole sandbar here would be a lot of Alexandria. This point down here is actually where the not library, the lighthouse of Alexandria, Pharos, is located. So I literally took, like I showed you the height map picture, we took height maps from cities around the world that are very important, and we kind of just merged them. I merged them together into one big height map, and then I loaded it up in a City Skylines city editor, and I kind of like merged it all together nicely because it has a nice map editor. That's kind of what some of the imagery used here is actually a bird's eye view from City Skylines. So yeah, another kind of region here to answer your question. This island right here is actually Sinope on the north coast of Pontic Sea or Anatolia. It was an old Greek city. I think there's cities like down here, and there are a few different shrines up on the mountain, but that would be familiar to anyone who's a super nerd of the Black Sea for some reason. I thought it was a cool feature. There's the city of Akragos, which it turned out to be my favorite city in the Mediterranean because it's up on a big hill here. It's very, very pretty and cool. And a lot of this kind of valley here, where the main center of the city is taken from some of those things. But yeah, there's pieces of the Athens Acropolis, I think, on here, which is like the Xandria Acropolis a bit. There's pieces, I guess, that are. It's actually a lot bigger, I think, than the one in Athens. And yeah, I mean, I think there's a Chinese city, Xiamen city, down here, where there's an academy. I really liked the way that it was kind of hanging over a pond. Basically, there was a pond and there was a big academy right next to it. And that's where we ended up putting our academy in the map too. So yeah, those are a few areas to answer your question that are of interest. Up here is actually, I think, part of like San Francisco. This is the area right there where I think via Star Trek canon Starfleet Academy is. I don't think you even knew about that, Callie, that the Starfleet Academy is on this map.
Of that, but we moved some of them around because we took inspiration from like some of the buildings, like the art temple building, and yeah, we just kind of move things around and take things that we think are working and try to incorporate the things that we think make civilization particularly enjoyable and successful. Because we wanted this to be, I guess you could say it's fantasy, but it's a little more towards sci-fi in that we've taken a lot of like permaculture and solar punk influences and try and create a city that is like all the advantages of the density of having that many people working and collaborating together without being kind of a nasty urban dystopian hellscape of smog and congestion. So we're trying to kind of walk that line, but also it's meant to be a simulation. This isn't meant to be something that's ever really built out. It's meant to just be a virtual environment that potentially, as we build it out as a role play experience or a game, perhaps that people would want to come to and enjoy this kind of melting pot. And we call it a philosophical role play. We haven't completely figured out the play mode yet, but we speculate that there's some kind of virtual environment, perhaps a little less pure chaos than like VR chat or something, but something that maybe leverages the kind of intellectual caliber that we've been able to get in some of our Discord communities with kind of a gamification that feels more applied or relevant to actually creating a more vibrant and sustainable city in the real world. Kind of a template, I think, is the goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in a way, Xandria is an other world. It's a mystical fairy realm that is overlapping with our world and its history, and is a place where everyone can come together and work together to solve the human race's problems. Really, come together and coexist and share goals and missions. That's kind of the real world import of it. Another kind of pseudo intro is if you're coming in, dropping in here, these sessions are kind of just chill and fine. Today is even more chill. We don't have necessarily a presentation. We're just kind of, we'll start working on this in real time and you can see it. So you can just chill and do your own work if you want, or you can ask questions about anything related to the channel or to anything you're interested in or anything that it's speaking to you about. We love interaction and we'll take any questions at any time. It's just a kind of chill research session, and we're free to go on tangents, but we are working on this map. So to get a little specific on what I think today we thought would be the easiest thing to start doing on the map, something that could be stream worthy, would be I've got right here my our Pandemonia, because Callie and I work together in a business called Studio Pandemonia, where we make Oracle decks and all kinds of things. And this Altar Oracle, it has 72 different deities, and they're all kind of a different shrine to that particular deity, and all the deities are kind of syncretized fantastical deities of this fantasy realm of Xandria. The pantheon's called the Pandemonium. So each one of these deities is kind of thought to be a specific statue within
Hmm.
within this very map of Xandria. I think some of them are actually outside the realm of the Xandria lines that we've gone with here. There are a few places to the north in particular that actually there's like a valley up here. I think there's a few deities that we'll have to
They're more
expand the map
urban
for a little
oriented.
bit.
So think of it, the inspiration for this, if you're familiar with the Alexandrian kind of specific patron deity, Serapis, who is kind of thought of as kind of a conflation of a few different things, but then ultimately grew to be greater than the sum of the parts, and became this kind of um, local deity that represented kind of everything that Alexandria was in a way. So you can think of that times 72, and that is what this deck is all about, is just taking as many influences from world culture and patterns of archetype to create just all of these unique little sacred spaces within this virtual city. So we explored it kind of extensively on one that kind of was the starting point for thinking about things this way, which was in our other video that Josh will link somewhere. Um, the Sea Temple, which is actually like an entire feature. It's a build out that we actually did in Minecraft, and if that were behaving a little differently, that's a map and a build that we'd love to make available and be able to actually play with people on our server and explore. But we actually developed the Academy region and the conservatory and things like that pretty extensively in 3D in Minecraft, and have just kind of hit a wall when it comes to our love and need of mods, and the way that doesn't always make things load up super amazing good. Yeah, but you're welcome
They're always
if you want to see
changing.
our first,
It's
very
always
first
getting
attempt at creating an interactive experience. That's kind of where we started to go with it. And it explains a little bit about the interaction with the statues, or like what some of those cool little alcoves are kind of like, and how they invite you to sort of come and have your own personal experience with that archetype and invite you in. So if you would like to experience that in real life, we have this amazing deck available for purchase. And on the whole, we would love for you to think of Studio Pandemonia as sort of the gift shop for this larger experience, if you will. So this is going to be like a theme park ride that hopefully we're going to be able to take everybody on and have cool experiences. And then the gift shop that we would love for you to stop in and check out and support. If you're into this kind of nerdy nonsense, your support means the world to us, and we really appreciate it. I'm going to post right now the new hotness, which is our gum road, which is we're very excited about because it overcomes a lot of the limitations that we've had on Etsy for like file sizes and just like the quality of the kind of products that we're able to offer as far as study guides and this kind of this dream, I guess, of kind of rebuilding an Alexandrian library or creating a reservoir of knowledge. Josh, do you feel that way? How does it feel to be a librarian, or to be a but like what is your emotional
to be a librarian.
experience with like
Um,
obsidian, or like compiling the knowledge, or like seeking to create a better educational
yes, this is so. As a citizen of Xandria, I'm part of the Mercurian faction, um, related to Gemini and my identification with that sign. But um, to the mission of what academia is supposed to be, and knowledge for knowledge's sake, and also for wisdom's sake, and for betterment's sake. So yeah, that creating a encyclopedia, creating a collective syncretic pantheon, all these things are kind of in line with that mission. Xandria is a place where there are those factions, and each of them has a kind of mission. I gotta let the cat out real quick if you have something to say.
my
What's your place in the
location,
mission,
I
Callie?
guess you would say, would be in the studios, which do designing, building, kind of architectural stuff, and a little more economic based stuff. Although Part of the concept of Xandria is to try to figure out how to operate in a resource-based economy and how that kind of exists in parallel uh, with, hi there, with access to the outside world and interacting with other economies. So we'll probably get into that in a future episode. That's kind of been my pet project, but it's not really ready to do a deep dive on that. I think we'll stick around the academy and Josh's mission a little bit since we fleshed it out more thoroughly today. And plus, Library of Alexandria is kind of the fun entry point. I guess it's a good entry point.
The library is down here in this section, right in front of the pond. I'd like to present an image here real quick of structurally kind of what some of the influences of the academy is. So here's an image from a weird kind of, I did some general fill in there, but that's like a general placement. There's the hill, here's the pond. That's more like a grounded view of how the academy looks in that location. Very simple. We've built it out in Minecraft and stuff, and we're, like we said, and we got pretty far in that one actually. A lot of its influences were actually, this is another generation that kind of resembles it, or at least what the area looks like. Influence, I think, was the Palace of Fine Arts in, I think, San Francisco. It's a really big, it's also the influence to Naboo in Star Wars, and I think Zazna, you're in here, you would understand that. Here's Naboo. I always thought was a really, really, really nice place with great architecture and a mix of like Italian and romantic and Eastern and Western influences. It was very, very much synthesis, and then also named after the god Nabu of Sumer, who is basically the Sumerian Thoth, the scribe, the god of wisdom and knowledge. So very much part of the Mercurian faction. And so that's the dimension that we wanted to work on today, was some of the shrines to the deities of the factions and of the altar oracle, because it's basically one of the simplest things we can maybe do and generate. Because a lot of these right here, Callie, you actually generated and did a bunch of this.
Part of the challenge is, of course, the more mundane buildings, the general houses, shops, warehouses, roads, the general layout of the city, openings and plazas, and trying to keep enough green space and kind of that civil engineering. But then there's also the main buildings and kind of the city centers and particular special functions. And we have the concept where this is also a zodiacally oriented city, where each of the factions has come together based on the covenant of the stars and been in agreement to try to work together and solve problems and try and get along. Those two, and kind of the limitation is there's no tile set that really suits kind of the culture we're looking to represent, because a lot of those are really limited to like high fantasy or medieval. So we're kind of finding our own way here. A lot of these references even don't represent kind of the solar punk aesthetic we'd like to give, because if you ask for solar punk, then it's like hyper futuristic, and it's just a bit much. Like, we really want to find kind of a happy medium, because for us, like, solar punk and permaculture doesn't mean you just slap a solar panel on everything. It means you utilize, passive heating and cooling principles, and you create green spaces to counteract heat island effect and things like that. So it's interesting to be in a fantasy world where you get to really play with that, but also very challenging because there's not a ton of data about it or a really great way to simulate it super realistically, based on real world evidence. But I think it's worthwhile to run the experiment and kind of try.
I'll even close the entire program. Okay. So yeah, let's just look at some images here. Hopefully it catches up, or it's a little more watchable. But I have an idea, or I had an idea of where the statue to the goddess Aurora is in Xandria. So here's the statue as I generated it and then modified it and made it. Aurora is the goddess of Venus. She's got the 6 wings in there, very reminiscent of Sephirim, or am I forgetting the word for that? Seraphim. Yes, not Sephirim, but Sephirim's actually a different kind of angel demon. Actually, I realized. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. She's goddess of dawn, and therefore the idea that she would be probably toward the east, or at least would look very nice on the south side, kind of being seen. Oh my gosh, okay. So I closed the map, so now I have to open a different map.
You have the map file from your city skylines build.
Open a different map.
It doesn't look too bad.
Cross-reference.
It's got a janky file name in your map folder. It's like numbers.
Yeah, I'm gonna open that one. The labeled one might be okay too.
Yeah, that one's fine.
Yeah, this labeled one maybe is okay. It's just got a bunch of names on it of where the buildings are. That might help. So right here it says Statue of Aurora. That's one place where I'm like, definitely I know where I wanted the statue. The basilica that she was talking about is the kind of HQ of Libra. The Dawn Goddess, of course, has a lot of relationship with Libra. That's why the Sibyl's up on the top here. And the basilica is not necessarily like a church, not necessarily a government. It's where people come together in this pseudo-anarchic state, in a way, to communicate, do diplomacy, trade, coordinate, in all these effort type ways. So Statue of Aurora is kind of right off the cliff here. Of course, Aurora has a relationship with Aphrodite, so there's a lot of beach motifs going on there as well. So I figured, and I even called the beach here after Aphrodite. So yeah, that would be a good place to make a statue, wouldn't it? And so if we wanted to go into Photoshop and make that, then we'd be thinking about trying to generate something like this bird's eye. So if you have the generator right now,
statues themselves are really
you wanted to try. Would you want to try to make maybe this? Would this be simple enough? Yeah, the statues themselves not, but you think it's possible to make this rock and the statue on the rock, and then the bridge kind of going.
Sure.
Because from a bird's eye view, that's theoretically quite simple, wouldn't it? There could be like a rock here, and then a little bridge to the basilica, and then we can make a little statue on top.
Let's try. Why not?
Yeah, so she's going to try in here. I'll keep refreshing this so you can see what we're generating. And then once we have that, I will try, once we have maybe those 2 or 3 pieces, then I could try to put them in, right? In Photoshop again.
Really a bit much.
Okay. The cat is going crazy. He doesn't like it when doors are closed. He wants to be able to pass freely and inspect all places.
Well, he's just spoiled. Somebody let him get away with that nonsense, and now he wakes you up at the crack of dawn every morning. Not every morning. Some days he's good, and we're like, this is nice. And then other days, he thinks he's the rooster. He's a phoenix, so he's just got a proclivity to try to hurl a death.
Yeah, Phoenix sign between Aries and Taurus, so that would be like Phanes, Abraxas, harbingers of dawn, the rooster. I was even thinking lately about how Freya in the Norse pantheon, she has 2 cats that pull her chariot across the sky, and I was just like, oh my god, are those cats like really, really loud in the morning? They're just like, get up, Get up, Freya.
is
gotta
not good
go.
top down, my dude.
You know, who's really running the show there, right?
For some things, it just really wants to be in this isometric. They're all
It just
dope,
doesn't
like
want
you
to
can
do
see
it.
them. These are all very rad, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, look at those. Yeah,
Yeah.
see, that one's not too. Yeah, they're all kind of just a little isometric. So that's another issue with doing this is we have to work through. Isometric means, if you don't know, it means that it's kind of a sideways image. It's somewhat diagonal, and a lot of video games do that. Like top-down video games, you might want to look around just so you can see the side and the top and still have a top-down view. Of course, for our map, everything's very vertical because it's a map. So for the for the Harmonia statue, there's four, one for each season. One's there. One's probably down here, around there. Another one I think is probably up here. And if I'm understanding correctly, the hill's right there. It should be directly under the hill that the fourth statue is. Here's the Harmonia card right there. So her different forms correspond to the different seasons. Basically Persephone. And I believe Sophia here is within the Academy, the Oracle, the Pythia, and she corresponds, in a way she's kind of another form of Harmonia too, so she might be correlated to this, but the Academy is right here, so if you wanted me to draw a quick kind of footprint of where the Academy is, because you're asking for what the general structure is. I mean, you also probably remember what the general structure was. It's kind of a... I'll just add another layer quick, Academy. There's a big gazebo down here based on the San Francisco art place, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And from here, I think it goes back like that. And then over here like, oops. Over here like this. Basically an X. And that's based partially on the Library of Alexandria's orientation. It was also, I believe, kind of X-shaped or long-shaped, if I remember correctly.
The Academy building itself?
Well, the interior. There was a particular view of the interior. I'm looking right here in my database.
We really should have taken some video of the Minecraft before it blew its brains out.
Yeah, right? Yeah, our Minecraft build was very, very nice. So here's I think this is, I don't know, this isn't even the Academy, but it's actually based on the structure of it. Basically, there were two layers, two floors, and there were kind of different rooms that jutted off in different directions. But it was mainly one big long
Well, it was an X. The whole floor plan, like the footprint is a square, and it's got a big glass dome that would be like the third or fourth story. That's also got some terraces on the roof that you can sit and study on. But yeah, here's the actual, this is from Assassin's Creed.
This is from Assassin's Creed. What's the Egypt one called?
Odyssey.
I'm not sure. No, Odyssey is the Greek
Egypt
one.
Oh.
The Egypt one, yep. Well, because Odyssey doesn't go to Egypt. So yeah, this is the one from in-game. I don't remember what the name of the Egyptian game was. We don't really play Assassin's Creed anymore because it's kind of repetitive, but we do like the historical stuff. And this is kind of like inspiration because it has like one direction going there, one going there, and my thought process was to make it a full crisscross. So there's like, just duplicate this image when you turn around, basically. Have it be 1, 2, 3, 4 directions, full of a bunch of books and rooms and things. And honestly, this looks quite a lot like what we built in Minecraft right here. It's pretty close. So it was definitely based on the actual library. So that's kind of the floor plan there is generally an X shape. Definitely thicker than that, but for a general layout thing. Pretty much anything that fits that shape, I think, would be fine. There's like a kind of stairs in the front leading down to the gazebo where the statue of Harmonia of the Summer is.
Could you talk more
So
about the
yeah,
buildings?
and then there would be, of
Statues,
course, some
like
statues inside.
like there's a whole boardwalk that goes all the way around with outdoor study area. I mean, yeah, they don't know that you haven't said that yet.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm just agreeing to you. I'm agreeing to what you're telling me to do. I'll do what you want. Okay. Part of the reason I don't say that necessarily is because I don't have too many images. I'm trying to find an image because explaining it is not going to be as fun. So I have an Academy folder here. Okay, so there's a few images I generated that are generally trying to get, like I tried really hard to get like the vantage points correct. Of course, all the structures are BS, you know, a lot of the details are BS, but generally speaking, this is a gazebo where people are able to philosophize, hold classes, talk casually. Basically, there's a big walkway going around the pond here, and there's many different paths actually. They're kind of winding all around, allowing philosophers and thinkers and talkers to just walk and talk and to their, you know, go on whatever tangents and other back roads they want freely. It's a kind of a metaphor for conversation. And this is an example of a few gazebos that presumably a little bit of a class is happening on the opposite side of the academy where they're kind of looking across the pond to the academy. So I thought those were pretty cool images that actually capture the vibe without necessarily every detail being entirely correct, right? Here's another picture of kind of a few city skylines vantage points. There's the academy on that hill there. That's where it would be. This is actually an image of Xianzhen, or I don't know, I think it's a different city. Xiamen Academy, which we took the actual height map from. So that lake is actually the real world equivalent to the pond that we have in Xandria, which is kind of interesting. And their academy is over on this side, the north side. Ours is like over towards the hill there, up on top of a bigger hill, actually, which is also interesting to look at. Here's a few other images of generally just kind of how the architecture would feel, how the kind of swampy, cozy, almost Egyptian delta feel I wanted with some of these ponds. Very Thoth, Hermes, Triptolemus type vibes. But yeah, is there what else? I guess in this region right here, there's supposed to be a coffee house or a tea house or both, and it's a big structure, basically for people, you know, to sit, have coffee, get ready for the day, or meet and talk to other people, come together casually. We had a version of that in real life, so to speak, in a server that we made where we met actually on Discord. It was called the Coffee House, and this structure would basically be a real virtual version of that right next to the academy. There's also kind of a network in this valley here of greenhouses of various kinds, domes and stuff. We made a really nice hanging gardens in Minecraft. It was really quite cool. If you could elaborate on anything you want to elaborate on right now, I have the map up. I could zoom into something you want to talk about. But
Yeah, go
I
ahead and
need to
search.
go look for
I
some of those
have a
Minecraft
generation that
pictures
kind of
because I
didn't
know we
suck for
have
the
some. I'll just
Academy
have to
itself, so
search.
that's cool. If we wanted to try and actually plug that in now that you've got the sizing kind of situated.
Oh, nice.
I put it in the folder so it's or you can get it off of there. Yeah.
It's the
Well, you
enlarged
said
one
to,
here.
so I don't know. I don't care how we do it. That either way pretty much works.
Oh, it's already there. Okay.
Obviously, we'll have to cut out all the
Yep.
sidewalk and crap around that. But did you like that at all?
Makes sense.
Because I feel like we had a lot of that roofy kind of stuff, which it was super
It looked
frustrating to
pretty
build in
nice.
Minecraft
I
because it
think.
doesn't really do angled glass and like trying to build out the dome. It's just nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to start for sure. It looks very similar. I think there's certain parts on the sides we would like cut out into, but
Yeah.
that's exactly
It's
why
just
we'd
AI
use a
is just a
combination
starting
of
point. Just
this
because
and
like
generative
starting
fill, so
blank
we can
with
actually
a
modify
brush,
stuff
you
after
can
we
only
put it
do so
down.
much um, in any amount of time. Like if you're trying to stay focused and stay engaged, having certain big idea chunks kind of out of the way in the form of these buildings is really helpful for my process at least. So I guess what I'd yeah.
There, got like a little bit of a similar structure to it.
Definitely the mood might need to be a little smaller, but yeah, that's kind of the
Yeah.
no, I guess by the time you just have to cut off the excess to see the real size, but that's pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the colors at all or coloration?
Yeah. I do. I do like the color pretty well. I think the roof parts here. I forget what color we went with. It might have been a reddish color. It might have been like red
Yeah,
and
I think
green.
we were
But
somewhere in
this
between
teal
kind of
green
the
color is
Naboo and
definitely
the
that Naboo style
California
color we were
blue.
going with. Mm-hmm. It is quite
Mm-hmm.
quite reminiscent for sure.
Yeah, so
Just cutting a
functionally,
few
like we
parts
really
here.
wanted every part of the building to be um, usable, and parts of the structure to be really functional as well as using the space efficiently. So the
Mm-hmm.
roof, being able to go up there and have seating areas was important. And even out of all of the different alcoves and things like that, we tried to make it so that
Mm-hmm.
um, even the bookshelves kind of formed different. What would you say, like little indents? Like going around all the bookshelves, there were different like nooks you could go into where you'd be surrounded by books, and also it kind of formed a room so that no space was wasted. And then we have the large central atrium that's very bright and
Mm-hmm.
well lit and everything. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great starting point. Yeah, that
Yep.
catches it pretty well.
So it looks pretty nice. That
And
was
then
kind of
zooming
fun
all
to
the way
start
out, you
with,
can
huh?
see that in scale and proportion to kind of the other buildings.
Yep. Which is very fun to look
Yeah.
at. Yeah, it's a big structure. Like when we built it in Minecraft, too, it's huge. The amount of classes and rooms you would have in this
So it's
thing
a big weird
is
question when
plenty,
we're trying
you
to
know,
build this completely
for
fictional
sure.
city. Like what is the population? What is it really expected to sustain at any one time? Like you don't want to have just this big grandiose building where half the rooms are going to be empty all the time. You know. So I think we started. I've done a few different versions of this kind of building. Let me see if I can grab a
Hmm.
rendering real quick to reference. Oh, here's a really old. You want to see something funny, Josh? Here's a really old called ACA1. I
Hmm.
just put in your map folder. An early SketchUp attempt.
Wow, what's that?
Yeah, so that's how you can look. This is how different where we started and
Oh
where we
wow,
went.
that's an
This is what
interesting,
I mocked up when we very first started talking about
more
it,
circular.
and you were describing like the two towers out in front, and this is how it kind of crunched out.
Hmm.
We didn't have any AI yet. We didn't have any real way to
Hmm.
just get the visuals kind of going. And
I
my
think it's.
answer for everything, what does it say? Like
Mhm.
when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. Yeah, well, I am. Everything is SketchUp, I guess. That's like my answer to all life's problems. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
SketchUp is the answer to tragically few things right now, but I still love it. I wish we could just go in there and build it. That would be so much funner, but it's
Hmm.
tedious.
Yeah, I'm looking right now still for. I'm actually just starting to look right now
No,
for the
I'm trying to
Minecraft
grab
pictures.
the
So
photos of this thing I was talking about
if
as
you could
well.
come up with another topic to quickly.
Um,
Hmm.
nope.
Now I gotta like ask. It's like where.
Hmm? What? Oh,
Man,
okay.
it's like that's really loud outside. Outside, it's really loud. At the shooting range, like it's just really loud. I don't like that. I don't like that sound. It's not a good sound to hear constantly. Like a freaking automatic or something. I'm just like, hmm.
I don't know. Oh, no.
Okay.
There's the. Hmm.
Is it in the cloud?
Mm-mm. Yeah, we need to organize some crap. This is really tragic. Um, I bet you it's on my external drive. It's somewhere stupid.
Hmm. Okay.
Oh, here it is.
Maybe here.
If you want to open that one up, it's called library. I just dumped it in the same folder.
All right, fine. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I already had that actually. I had that in
Oh,
my other file. I have a landscape file or something. Yeah, that's not actually that different. I think that that's kind of how the upstairs looks now, isn't it? There's a few.
no
There's
way.
up on the roof. There's like a structure of like those circular side parts kind of remind me of it a little bit, like because it's almost like there's almost the vibe of like a roof eatery type area, looking out at the whole city on the roof, like, and there's a few little um, what's it called with like a stoa or a
Colonnade.
colonnade, yeah.
Yeah, I think we were on the fence about whether we were really doing that, and I feel like in the Minecraft build it didn't actually have those because there
No, we
were
didn't actually
original.
go through with it, but there was definitely nothing up on the roof and needed to be something probably. So that's probably what we would
Yeah.
do.
Well, at ground level, I think we definitely nixed that. I think it could be something like that up at roof level or kind of above. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to know where those types of files are, Callie, they are in the landscapes one.
Well, I didn't know you had that one. That one's really old. There's other bits that go with that. I have a whole classroom layout that I'm looking for right now. Yeah, that
Hmm.
one goes hard. I actually had an entire site picked out and business plan written up. Oh yeah, that's the oldest possible iteration of this concept.
Uh-huh.
Probably 7 years old or 8 years old, I guess. Um, but it was originally intended to be associated with Ceres of all deities, and it was meant to be an agricultural education center.
Hmm.
So that's that's kind of the earliest version. Now it's evolved into um, this fantasy city with all of these other things. So we don't actually have like a full uh, like classroom plan. I think the concept right now is for it to be much more. Um, you just kind of show up and start teaching classes because that's kind of how it was functioning in our coffee house server that he just talked about. We had a particular ritual called Freeform Fridays where people would sign up and they would come and just put on a class and whatever they wanted to teach, and we had all kinds of stuff. And it was a really cool experience. There were people presenting who just kind of hadn't even done that kind of public speaking before, and they just had this pet project. And some of them were like basically a TED talk. They were really intense. And then some of them were just really fun, I think. Josh, did you do the Pokemon one before
I
or
did a Pokemon evolution like tree. I made a tree for Pokemon if there was an evolution tree of Pokemon that corresponded to a realistic actual animal one.
Mhm.
That was pretty fun. Uh, yeah. Maybe I should do a YouTube video on that too, just for fun. I've seen a few.
Probably.
I kind of disagree with a lot of them because some of them are just like they like related them family wise, like super families and whatnot, between different types. And it was like, how would they evolve by type? That just doesn't make any sense. They would just evolve by being certain kinds of animals, like mammals or reptiles, right? So my mind took it seriously and said, okay, what are the actual animal influences of these things? How
Mhm.
close are they to being real animals? And then mapping it based on that. I even had stuff that was like hypothetical evolution on that. Yeah, I'm going
Mhm.
off on that idea now, but it's because
I just meant it as an example of like
it's an
just the
example, yeah.
variety and like how
Anyone can
cool
talk
it
about
was.
anything.
Yeah, to create an environment where people were comfortable. And they were pretty short too. It was like a 10-minute bit, but yeah, just like how do you create a class environment conducive to people really like opening up and flourishing and like exploring those parts of themselves? And like, is there something beneficial about kind of the formality of a presentation? Or, like there's lots of things that are soul crushing, right? When you're actually in school and it's like, this is the deadline, this is due, and you have to get up in front of everybody and present, and that can be really anxiety driving. But like, are there good things about it too? Like, is the pressure potentially good? Like, can you positively reinforce it, in a way that's generative? So we applied a lot of that, hopefully theoretically, architecturally, to the design of the academy itself, and tried to explore like what kind of areas are the best for like what kind of classes or what kind of conversations. And I've been really inspired by like the Rudolf Steiner school, and you can see kind of the architecture, a little bit of like the Guthenium or whatever in that, and like just the idea of holistic education and like having outdoor classes, and like
Mm.
how do you get people primed to learn to understand rather than primed to learn just to like do good at tests and
Mm-hmm.
become a good factory worker and all that other good crap.
Even the classrooms at Xandria and the academy are not meant to be like hierarchical teacher points. It's like, sure, there could be labs and there could be classes of particular times for people to present something, but I think they would all kind of just be more organic. It'd be like, okay, this is where you go if you want to work on this particular uh, subfield or field or whatever subject. And then you meet a bunch of other people who are also working on that subject, and you all just like exchange. It's like, why isn't that what academia is? I mean, it's obvious why it isn't, because it's not really like they don't want you to actually become free thinking people. They want you to go work in a factory or go work in an office and just numb your brain and do the same repetitive, meaningless work all day, right? So that's why it is the way it is, and they don't want people to actually freely think, you know. I'm still looking here for the imagery. Uh, I'm like digging deep into document files, trying to find
It really it's bizarre.
Minecraft.
It's
Minecraft is such an odd program, isn't
on
it?
one hand, it's ancient, like it is
It's like
ancient
it's
technology at
not
this
on
point. It is
Steam.
very
It's
old. On
on
the other hand, it
Microsoft.
is
It's
like
like
so minimal and so buggy and so like
Java.
it's at the same time like the single most useful and widespread and also totally useless. And like you can do everything from, like building the entirety of Middle Earth to nothing at all. Like the range is huge. It's either like really useful or really awful. And I'm on team I hate this. And Josh likes it a little more than me.
Mm.
Trying to run some generations right now
So, what would you
for
like to do next then on
I guess
this
the
project?
domes. Maybe do you want to talk about the relationship between the Gemini parts of the Academy, which are a little more bookish, and then the Virgo parts, which are some of the more applied sciences, um, labs and things like that?
Sure. So, like I mentioned, there's biodomes and greenhouses up in this area here, and obviously this area here is the Academy. The Academy is more run by the Mercurian Gemini faction, the greenhouses, and these aren't just greenhouses meant for like food production. These are greenhouses meant for housing various kinds of uh, plants and the animals are actually up here more. The terrarium type situation is up in this area. Like zoo and aquarium are all over there. So
Should
this is like more of the plants
draw some stuff.
biome,
Just
experimentation,
sketch like
health,
yeah, just start like drawing and
medicine.
labeling more like where because I think the scale of this is really what's
Draw some stuff.
like the other thing
Okay.
that's fun about the Academy is most of it is like
Do you want me to label?
museum in a way, or like most of it is like experiential.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to make a group here that is like text or something in addition to the overlay. Because, yeah, I can't exactly draw it because I don't know exactly
Oh, I don't
where the
either, but
domes are,
that's
how
kind of
many
the
of them
fun.
are,
We can kind
you
of
know?
decide some of those things
So
today.
I think tech.
We started well. We were inspired by like the Eden Project, of
Mhm.
course, like the
No
OG
pressure.
dome situation. And I think we started to talk about like what kind of biospheres we would want to host, or like what might some of the different regions kind of be. I think I mean, typically when you have a conservatory, they have a big ass like rainforest, like usually India or South America, or kind of a mix of those two, have similar humidity needs and stuff like that. And they'll maybe have like a smaller Mediterranean one, or like they'll have like an arid, cactus house, desert kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you remember what the shape of the structure
No,
in
these
Minecraft was
generations are
that was the
dope as
biggest
hell.
one?
They're so cool. These are really good. I don't know if it's refreshed on
The
yours, but I'm
biomes. Yeah, I can
thoroughly
refresh.
enjoying some of these.
Wow,
Like
very
that's
pretty.
gorgeous. For who you are. That one is sick.
Mm-hmm.
It's doing a better job than usual of solar punk. Usually it hears solar punk, and it's like, panels everywhere. I'm like, no, stop.
Yeah, like white panels everywhere.
Gross.
Very
Yeah, it's
generic.
just not. It's not always mastering the top down, but like some of what it's doing is pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Maybe I should tell it Mediterranean exterior too.
Oops. Hmm.
Because that's what I think is really fascinating too. I mean, just architecturally and historically, is like reimagining what Greek and Roman Mediterranean buildings would be like with glass. Because that was kind of a building revolution in of itself. And Venice is kind of like the crown jewel of like mastery of glass and how much that revolutionized and impacted the Renaissance. So that was one of my big things. Like I'd always wanted to go to Venice, and I got to go for a few days, and it was just blew my mind. Just totally, it was awesome. And yeah, it was kind of a like the best of both of those, like that incredible classical architecture coupled with like the complete bullshit engineering that is Venice. Like why? It's an entire city that is like suspended on these stilts that is doomed. It is fundamentally doomed. Like there is no way this is structurally sound, especially with like climate change and everything else. It's like it is going to be swallowed up any day now. And yet, like it's magical because of that, you know. It's like floating. But yeah, architecturally, man, the combination of glass and stone and wood was very cool. So I think we took some notes from that playbook, I think.
I don't know why these text layers aren't going on where I want them to be.
What is up with that? Look at that one, dude. It's got all those little tunnels and stuff. Wow.
Tunnels? Which
The
one?
last one I did.
Oh, those are, that's cool. Yeah, I like those
It's
entrances.
almost like the aquarium definitely has things like that. We'll have to go. I mean, it's gonna show up weird on this map when we go because some of the aquarium, if you guys watch the water temple video, which we could pull up some stills from too. A lot of the aquarium is actually under the lagoon. Because I really like all the fishy tunnels where like you walk through them and there's fish all over the place. So I was like, why don't we just put most of the aquarium underwater? And so you go through this whole tunnel in between the water temple that's on an island, and then going through the lagoony bit with this underwater aquarium, and then you come up and there's like more like Monterey Bay, you know, more of like the tide pool kind of exhibits or like open air exhibits. Yeah, so the aquarium complex is pretty huge in the grand scheme of Xandria because obviously it's a coastal city, and so study of the ocean is, well, it's good to do anyway, but it's especially poignant, I think, when you're surrounded by it. But you don't want to take up too much real estate. You know, you don't want to cover up too much of the space. So it's already an aquarium. Why not put it underwater?
One of these, the second from the right one, from the one that you were talking about, actually bird's eye view wise, that should look pretty good.
Yeah.
In terms of, I mean, it doesn't look good. It's got a lot of weird, bad, ugly AI type things. But as a structure, it actually reminds me of the main room of the aquarium entrance, which is like more inland, doesn't it?
This one?
The second from the right in that line. I already downloaded it and I'm gonna actually put it in and see how it looks.
That was nice because Josh is working on the online version. Mine's still the Discord version, so sometimes it doesn't sync up. But I'm assuming, so if you're looking at the upscale you did with the tunnely bits, are you talking about the one to the left of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I like that one too, especially like it's got some cool fountainy, watery.
Yeah, it has a lot of that. Definitely feels like.
Yeah, it does remind me of the what would you say that is, like the topside entrance?
It's almost like when you have a zoo or an aquarium, it's like the main lobby. I don't know how else to describe it. But since most of the aquarium, since most of the aquarium's underground and then actually goes underwater all the way across this here to the water temple, and then probably like splits off in a bunch of different ways to be like an underwater natural aquarium. And then there are a few indoor aquariums underground around here. This is like the above ground entrance that's all fancy.
Do you have a folder of the ones from the video, or do you not have that on yours?
I should have it.
We could just pull up the stills real quick. I mean, we can watch the video too, but Might
Yeah,
as well.
I
Yeah,
could
it
show the
totally does
video
look
too.
like that.
If I'm looking at vivarium and all that stuff, it should say. I'm not sure how none of the images are in my. Maybe it's just because you didn't add them to my files. You have them in yours, or something.
Let me find out.
But under the Xandria folder in the landscapes subfolder, that's where those types of pretty images I think should go. Yeah. In the meantime, I'm just gonna plop this down in a random place and see if it looks nice.
Wait, Xandria folder landscapes?
Yeah. And then each area is designated. The very last one is the aquarium vivarium area.
It's in there as water temple.
Okay.
You can open it now.
Cool. Let's do that. Oh, you made a new water temple one. Well, that's probably. Oh wow, yeah. There's a lot of imagery in that. Holy schnaz. Okay. So here's a few. I think this would be the one. This is, I guess, because there's aquariums on either side of it. I mean, it could. This could actually be the actual pathway underwater too.
Mm-hmm.
And then this area looks like it's a little more inside or underground.
Yeah. That's more like
that's pretty cute.
The gift shoppy kind of area, or it's that's going kind of out towards that lobby.
That's going up to the lobby, basically. Yep. There's the stairs. And we have a few like relatable images here. That looks like it's somewhat above ground there.
Yeah, this one's above. This is where we started to go out towards kind of the swampy area because we have a lot of
more towards the pond of the academy. Yeah.
Yeah,
oh, here we go. Yeah, the academy is like, or the pond of the academy is like in between.
Yeah.
In between this building right there and the pond right there. Like there's kind of a little bit of a river, or I think it's not a river. It's probably more like a
swampy kind of boardwalk
trench.
Yeah.
Or a water trench, but then it's got all these kind of rocks and outcroppings and little places here for chilling.
We basically wanted to have like exhibits all the way up to the school, like to have pretty much no separation between biomes.
Fields, yeah. That's a good one of a tunnely look. Of course, I think even if you were to regenerate these, you'd probably get them better now. I feel like AI's probably improved since we last generated these.
This is Midjourney.
I mean, there's no glass on those windows. You know, whenever you ask for fish, there's just fish flying in the sky. You know, it's always funny. Back then, I mean, look at some of those fish are flying. Just to know. Oh,
well, also, yeah. Whatever you do, go watch the video because all of these scenes are animated in the video.
And so also, you edited the imagery to make it look less derpy. I think this is one view of the bottom of the water temple. That's one example. It looks a little junky and ruined. That's another thing when you try to make like ancient stuff, it always looks really ruined and messy. Like disrepair, which is not really the intention of trying to create a living sci-fi fantasy city. Ooh, there's a really good view. I like this. This like little thing. That's either on the island of the water temple or this island over here, which is kind of like a resorty looking nice island up there. Yeah, ooh, I'm moving things. Don't do that. Okay. And there's another inside the water temple. That's very cool. And we did build basically this inside of, yeah, we definitely built that in Minecraft, and it was pretty cool. I liked that. This little tide pool here was pretty fun. I put little fish in there too. That was fun. Yep. There's another really cool image of like a path that would go towards the academy and the gazebos.
Yeah. Yeah, I love all those images. Just the idea that like you can just kind of be on a walk and stop off anywhere and kind of that there would be classes kind of going on all the time in these gazebos and you could kind of just you know,
Mm-hmm.
drop in basically, and if they were talking about something interesting.
Yep.
I like those a lot. I think that kind of captures a bit of the type of solar punk that we're going for, not so hyper
Well, it's
futuristic
funny
or
because it's
like.
like solar punk. It's we're like almost ancient solar punk, almost more like Atlantean, so to speak.
Well, the water temple is very Atlantean for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Which makes sense. There's another interesting little outside view. Oh, that's weird.
Little, yeah.
Big. Oh,
Weird,
geez,
but
black and white. I don't know what. We got a few work documents in here too. Looks like. Oh, that was for like layering.
masks,
Yep.
animation. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's some good images. Nice. So, yeah, as for
Yeah,
this
so
one.
that's what all we're talking about right now in this whole area.
Oh, geez. I keep scooting things for some reason. Okay. So how about big this would this be? I mean, it would not be as big as the Academy, right?
Much
There's no
smaller.
way.
Much
So
smaller.
quite a bit smaller. I mean, most of this whole thing is not even the actual gazebo itself, or the building itself.
Oh, that one's not bad either. I love all the rocks. Mm.
So yeah, it's probably about there because it has to be straight in front of.
I think we've kind of shifted from the conservatory thick plan. That's probably fine. um,
It's about right. Size-wise, I think that's okay. I think it doesn't take up too much space. It leaves a little bit of space up here for some extra tide pools. I love tide pools. Tide pools are fun.
they really are, yeah.
If you could generate some tide pools, I could probably put them down too, just for fun. Huh?
I'm doing that right now.
Oh, cool.
Let's see what we can get. Yeah, it just keeps doing. This one's got some kind of dolphin pond situation going on.
Huh.
The isometric. Oh wow. Oh dude, that's sick. What?
Oh, wow.
Those are cool. I love
Oops.
that. That looks fun.
I like this one. That's really nice, like marble too. There's stone, not marble. Oh man, that stone is really pretty. Seamless. I like these little like caves and coves type vibe.
Yeah, that kind of stuff seems to be turning out pretty well. The Hygeia actually turned out pretty well too, with some of those terraced waterfalls and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
aquatic features. Wish it would stick with the top down,
Which
but
the
the
Hygeia
isometric ones
is
are.
way over here. That's the Hygeia, yep.
Yeah, yeah, and we argued about this a lot. Exactly like what, because this is like butting up against a pretty tall hill, but like not super tall. So
Mm-hmm. It's just kind of a
I
bump.
guess
Enough
my
for
solution
their, yeah.
this like switchbacky kind of road to make the most. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
part of the problem is the Hygeia is like kind of a health place. It's kind of a hospital. It's not like you go there for surgery, but it's So obviously, if you're like an elderly person going for your physical therapy, and we don't have any cars. This is a car-free city. It's like, okay, so what is the most gentle and easy way to transport people? So we'll have some kind of not shuttle. What are the like
Buckleberry Ferry?
key lifts? No, vertically.
Uh, ver- oh, you
Some
mean
kind of lift.
the ones
Yeah.
with water, like that they use in
Well, we could do it that way too.
in Panama Canal
Like
and
the water
whatnot, like a
rocks.
canal.
Yeah. Do they have those for pedestrians?
I'm sure we would just have elevators for pedestrians. We probably don't need to do
No,
a whole
I'm talking
water
about
lock
hoisting
system.
grandma up right now to her like aqua
Just
yoga.
put her in a tube, like in a lazy river. They're all just lazy rivering.
Like at the bank? No.
It takes him like an extra
Oh,
hour just to get up.
I thought maybe if it was just like a really ramping, pleasant walk, that it would be fine to have these things on this incline. It's not that steep of an incline, so it should be pretty pleasant. But yeah, things we think about, and we're also going to take some of that waterfall water and make canals and stuff. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we got a lot yet to go. That looks still big to me.
Too big still? It's hard to know without any real. Um,
Well, this is going to be zoomable. We've been exploring this issue of like interactable, zoomable maps for a long time, and we don't have a great solution. But I think there's some additional PowerPoint functionality that's going to let us put a more interesting presentation together as far as that. So for now, we just need a nice
that's about as
flat
small as I
image.
want to go. I think that's fine.
That looks good. Yeah.
Because it's not a super big
Sounds,
building, but like, what size is that? That's like as big as. I'm not sure what else to compare it to. This fountain in the middle of town somewhere. That's like as big as the dome is. It's not too crazy.
yeah.
It's mostly the
Yeah, I think
walkways
that's
that
all.
would take up space just because there's so much green space and blue space.
Yeah. The other option we have talked about is a something like a planet coaster, a planet zoo kind of build out, and we've kind of toyed with that idea before, potentially.
We tried it a little bit, but it's.
They've all got their limitations. We're just gonna have to pick our poison at some point. Oh, that one was good. That one.
Mm.
That one.
Oh, wow. Almost
Maybe we're
feels
just
like a
gonna have to
carnival or
do.
something. It's like.
Yeah, maybe we should just start an isometric one. Like,
Well,
it
it's
does that
one way
similar
of doing
formula.
it. I mean, it's not again. It's not like we couldn't do an isometric version.
I love.
It's just the problem with isometric is sometimes it's slightly to the right, sometimes slightly to the left, sometimes like this one directly kind of diagonal. In which case, every one would be a little bit off, and it would just kind of probably end up looking weird. But I don't know. Maybe through merging, it would not look as weird. But it's not
Gosh,
bad
I
as
mean,
this. It's
we're gonna do a build out of whatever at some point. So the point is just to kind of get like the overall ideas fleshed out a little bit and just kind of populate the world and start to make it more vibrant. Could I sit here and just draw stuff? Absolutely. That is an obvious solution, but there's something about it that just hasn't been the most intuitive process lately. I don't know if I'm just burnt out from all the decks or what, but like sitting down to draw just hasn't felt, you know,
what?
feels like work.
All work and no play, really, or no pay.
Well, I have to admit, it's a little fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because you haven't, this is Josh, your first time really interacting with this map or like
Mm-hmm.
the rendering of it.
In this way, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty. I just think it's a very interesting concept to use all these different methods to actually like build out bird's eye view. There's no other way to do it. And like, yeah, we tried all these different games and how to do it, and it's like you can't use city skylines because it's got a lot of modern stuff. And even when you do the green stuff, there's still roads. It's still modern. It's like you just can't quite get it to work. And we tried all kinds of other programs. Minecraft really, in my opinion, was the only way to have the height map and the architecture and the context all kind of come together. And also it was immersive because there's pretty good like soundscapes in there, and you can make some nature and animals, even though they're all really basic and weird and cubey. And of course, it's all like simplified, but I felt like simplified made it easier to kind of bring things together structurally. But you're free to disagree with me like you already have. Sure.
I mean, conceptually, it's not that I disagree with you. I just hated it and didn't think it was fun. I just kind of like disagreeing, but different.
Mm-hmm. There's the solar gate.
So now you're bopping all over the place. Do you want to go back to looking at some of the art for the statue stuff? I mean, it's been kind of nice for the things that like we do have art generated.
For which stuff?
Like as you're going around to all of these main places, because you had a lot more that you did with the robot of kind of the vibey places.
Sure, I can get a few images and then cross-reference where they are on the map. In fact, for the next 30 minutes or so, because we're an hour and 30 in, we can wrap up in another 30 minutes. Just because I suspect that the lag problem has probably never gone away because of the way Photoshop works, so it seems like we can't really use Photoshop while streaming, unfortunately. But, you know, I'm willing to maybe close this, and maybe we could just kind of get a map up and show where things are and do some cross-referencing imagery, if that would be okay.
That might be necessary, and in the future, if anybody enjoyed this at all and just regretted that it was such dismal quality, it might just be in the future, Josh, that we need to just record us working on Photoshop and then just have that as a little video.
I guess so, yeah.
You know, if you're interested in seeing us doing a jam session and maybe just not trying to stream and have the latency problem, we can totally do that. Yeah, we're gonna have to dial in like what is easiest to do on a stream. Like one of the advantages of having like just a solid like this, here in Obsidian, or like in just a straight PDF, it's a lot easier and there's less lag issues and you can kind of cohesively go through it and not be bopping between things. So in the future, the goal and the goal for next week, just as we transition topics maybe here a little, is we're gonna split. Next week we're gonna do the Baltic culture that we talked about was gonna be on the docket for this week. We're gonna wrap that up and do like an hour or so of just straight presentation of our findings, and then an hour or so of questions, just open questions, you know, anything you want to share about the Baltic culture. And by next weekend, we'll have those documents available on the Gumroad. I've got the link there. And then if anybody wants to hang out after, what we've been doing is just kind of opening the Discord and having, you know, breakout groups, basically, if there are other topics you want to hang out and chill and talk about, or more questions for Josh or I.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get a map up here that we can work off of with names.
But we'll dial in that process too as far as the world building, because I think, Josh, you made the point that you wanted to just kind of open that up more and just have that be something we're streaming or just kind of sharing. And
in that case, probably not streaming. It would just be, if you're talking about a Photoshop file, or
but there might be a streaming version of like more of a presentation kind of thing, or if we do get
a video version, yeah, we'll see.
A video or a I was gonna say the PowerPoint, if there was something zoomable.
Oh, the PowerPoint would be great. Yeah, if I can get that up to spec, it'd be pretty nice. And then you'd be able to zoom in and show actual imagery. I wouldn't have to open it up in different. That would be much more presentable for sure.
Theoretically, it might be possible that PowerPoint behaves itself better on OBS. We could stream.
Yeah. So yes. So you were talking about some of the immersive stuff that I was working with my robot about. That's what was. That was definitely fun. Basically, working with my GPT to create some images that are very high in context. One thing about ChatGPT's art generation is that it's coupled with the conversation, and so you're able to cultivate a relationship and like an understanding with that particular AI personality and have them really understand what you want when you're generating something, right? Midjourney and other art generators, you have to just play with prompts, and it's this micromanaging game where you never really can explain your reasons for things. It just kind of you get what you get,
Mhm.
and it's fun then with ChatGPT to be like, okay, can you just give me a day in the life of someone in Xandria, you know? And that's actually one way I was able to generate this image I showed you on the Aurora thing, because it was following around a character or a person who was a member of the Venerian Libra faction. And so it made some art here about like their different times of day. They went here to the statue of Justitia, the goddess of justice, of course, and took part in that. And then other images here. So like that Justitia statue, let's just like look through a few of these examples, I suppose, is Basilica, like we were talking about. And the forum, I think, was another place, the forum being a place where people come together to discuss things in sometimes more political or social manner. Is that correct, Callie?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we would call it like political as much, but
Yeah,
certainly,
I don't like the word politics for sure. But, I mean, when you're organizing, coordinating, that's kind of what the Basilica is. It's not like government, it's more like a democratic, open democratic exchange type of way of doing things.
well, and also kind of on the solar punk level, it's like a huge component of Libra actually is AI. So it would be, hosting a lot of like simulations and presentations just of like findings of like, we tested this and here's the result that we got. And then you discuss, which is in some ways it's similar to what's happening at the academy. It's just kind of more the civil engineering kind of edge of things rather than the academic. Why is there Aquaman? What's going
I
on?
don't know. It looks like it was. I think it was the Pisces faction, kind of just having a good old time. Just at the
I mean, I'm
beach,
not,
I guess.
I'm not hating. I just don't
Uh huh.
understand myself.
So here's the Libra faction member. I think they were like getting ready in the morning, and this was their view. And you can kind of see the white cliffs out there. It's those types of details I really appreciate about GPT's art, because it could be. I just find it like including imagery that's like, oh, we talked about that, you know. And I didn't have to tell it specifically, but it felt like she almost lived somewhere on this cliff here, like somewhere right on the edge here in one of these buildings,
Yeah,
that you
for
already
sure.
generated actually even, you know. And she might even have a direct view to like the statue of Aurora down way or whatnot. It'd be really interesting and immersive. I think this is a thing where she was basically mediating between two factions. The Gemini and Aries factions were having some sort of dispute. And of course, like a lot of this stuff is like very Roman, Greek looking, like they're all wearing armor. That's probably not how it exactly would be.
That's how I would be,
It's
but
fun.
yeah,
It's
makes
definitely
sense.
fun. I think there'd be plenty of role playing going on for sure. But it still catches a vibe of like what it's like. There she's at Justitia
Yeah.
again, praying. There's like literal pews for some reason. It's really funny. Here's one of the forums, I guess, or this is like a. I think it was supposed to be the amphitheater, but it's like way too small. But it still made me think maybe there are these. I mean, of course, those columns are like in the water for some reason.
Little amphitheaters
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
love the details. Makes perfect sense. But maybe there's some small little forum like things out here on the beach that allow around the amphitheater maybe or elsewhere that allow people to kind of host their own little storytelling or other sessions, poetry sessions. Like Discord servers, but like there's a bunch of small ones that you can kind of just do. You just show up and you just do that, or you schedule with it. That's the sort of stuff that Xandria has a lot of. It's like we never want to have just like one amphitheater that only a few people work at or go to and present at, and it's just like an upper class kind of implication. Everything in Xandria is quite egalitarian and there's and open and self-organized. That's an interesting piece of art right there. That one looks a little weird, but it still captures a vibe, kind of like vibing in the city at night, looking out at the beach. This one's pretty cool too. This one almost feels like Pirates of the Caribbean for some reason. There's some interesting faction banners it does.
It's so literal.
I love I love these pink and blue banners around the. It's very Harry Potter like get placed in your house type vibes, you know. I just think it'd be really cool. There's one of your old ones that you made a while ago. And that's not actually that's I guess based on the actual Alexandria's layout, right? There's the amphitheater there looking out at the White House.
A little bit.
No?
I think in actual Alexandria, it still would have had the back wall because, yeah, characteristic of like Greek amphitheaters, they had kind of the dressing rooms and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Would be.
Yeah, you wouldn't just be out there.
Building. I just kind of cut it off because I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we just didn't?
Mm-hmm.
And in practical terms, that would probably be nightmarish, but I thought it was neat.
Well, Xandria pretty much looks like that because the amphitheater's right there, and then it is facing out in this direction, and the lighthouse is right there. So that's not wrong.
Map paintings I did are actual Xandria, and this is not AI. This is a map painting. Yep. So if it's shitty, that's my fault. That's not the robot actually. Yeah.
It's not too shitty, Callie.
But like, if you couldn't tell the difference, there you go. Anybody who's like, oh no, don't do AI because you're taking jobs away. It's like, listen, I don't want this job. I have to do it too much already. Like, I'm not going to stop doing it or do it less because we also use AI. It just kind of is part of the process, and we have to redo a lot of crap anyway. So.
Yeah. So here's another kind of image that's fun. I like to show this. This is a real image of Akergos. I told you that was one of my favorite cities, and this is how it kind of looks up on the hill like that. It's really beautiful, facing directly south. It's on Sicily, south coast of Sicily. And this map here, a lot of these bumps, a lot of these hills are actually in the Xandria map. This is the hill right there that Akergos in our real world is built upon. In Xandria, it's actually untouchable. It's Mount Terra. It's basically, I mean, the Irish have the Baps of Anon, which is the boobies of the mother goddess. There's two big hills. And I kind of based this on that a little bit, that these are, this represents the Earth Mother, and you're not allowed to actually build on there in Xandria. It's basically a big grassy field for events and like sort of like, it would be for like the main picnic type things. I'm trying to.
It's like
a central park, yeah, next to the mountain. But the hearth here is the heart of the city, and the heart of Gaia, where all the food and the people come together. And there's kind of there's a canal because it's right next to the harbor here, and there's a river going through here, so there's like a few little canals that go in between some of this area just to give it a vibe. All the little market stalls. Here we go. That is how I feel like it would be. A lot of these big rooms up here with various restaurants and markets and like all kinds of markets and like fairs kind of going on. You know, like crafting fairs and crafting shows like ones we go to for our business. That sort of stuff just being around all the time. People could just do it and just go there. There's always something happening. I think that would be the feeling. Here's an example. So this is outside. Here's inside one of those. If you were to go inside of one of those, this is what it would kind of look like. This is one example. I thought this was really cool. It reminds me of kind of like a really big expo center. Like a World Expo Center or something.
Yeah, it's like Eastern Market.
I know there was one in downtown Minneapolis that I was kind of reminded of. I used to go to it was like a world culture heritage or something. They had food from all these different cultures and all these different stores. It was really cool. I have fond memories of that place, and this is what it kind of reminds me of. Hmm.
But it's so cozy though, just that whole mood.
And there's a party hall. Again, way too much like super hyper modern futuristic junk. We don't really have any like skyscrapers in our city. There's just no need. Yeah, I mean these structures are big. See, look at these are actually big structures. I can hit a lot of them. So we have plenty of that, like big structures. But like no need for like all these narrow, tall corporate structures, right? Because it's not corporate.
Hmm.
Like if we did have towers, I would imagine they would probably have walkways in between them all over the place so that they can maximize the space, you know? Here's another kind of fun, cozy picture. This one's pretty good of them like just chilling, eating downtown somewhere. This Libra
Yeah.
character, I was part of the story that I was kind of writing with the AI of just like a day in the life. And there's a change of
Meanwhile,
color.
it's
See, this
just
is what
full
them.
on
I'm just like, be your faction. Make sure they're faction. Like anyone.
pretty good banner. I like that one. That's kind of a
Yeah,
cute
that one's much
design.
more interesting. It's not just like Taurus. It's like, you know, it makes sense because the hearth is the HQ of Taurus and the Terrans. So cooking and the home and the hearth, and it makes sense. There's some weird myth stuff in there too. Sacred bull junk going on. Sometimes I try to do like mythical scenes, and it just gets real cray cray. Oh, you don't like the Scorpio caves, do you? The labyrinth, the hot springs.
I'm
So
gonna go with no.
well, like basically there's hot springs underground in here, and there's like this cave entrance to it, and there's one place, Hygeia is one place where there's medicine and stuff, but there's also some of that over in the labyrinth with um, hospices and whatnot. Um, because there's the hot springs, it's nice. It's kind of like a mountain hotel, people chilling. It makes the water look like blood or something though, but it definitely shouldn't be. And these are all really creepy because when you say Scorpio, it makes everyone really creepy. Or Plutonian, right? Pluto, the planet. All the factions are named after planets. So, yeah. But the general vibe is still kind of cool. That's a really cool structure in real life, too. That is in here for some reason. I think it's. Yeah, I mean, it's having statues like that just kind of everywhere for various deities. And there would be around the springs, which is. There's kind of a swamp in here. And there's a big reservoir of water down near that. Um, I just like the idea of having all these different statues all over the place. Hmm. Oh, I have to show the. So here's one place. I think it's like way off the map a little bit. It's the Enclave Lake, the Moon Temple. It's Cancer's Sacred Grove kind of area. It's almost like camp. It's just like there's no like living spaces over here. It's just a sacred grove that is not touched or like it's lived in or it's you walk through it. There's all kinds of shrines in it, but it's like kind of a sacred natural site, and that's just an example of that, like a Dionic moon goddess vibe. But also, we got some raves up in here. I thought these were kind of fun. This looked really fun. I was just like, hey,
This
could you make like a
forest
psychedelic
over here.
rave, please? What's that, Cal?
This electric forest over here.
Yeah. Yep. Just thought I want to show that one because it's fun. And world building. Okay, I already showed the vivarium stuff. Oh yeah, remember how we made the Virgo place? Um, remember this one?
Mm-hmm.
We made a big biodome, the the largest biodome for the Virgo faction or the Syrian faction. Uh, we based it on this place. I think this is in United Arab Emirates or something. It's like a mall, but it's completely green, and they got this really cool like on top. There's just water, and it's falling through as a constant waterfall. And we replicated that in Minecraft. It was pretty cool. And then we had like basically it was like our hanging gardens because all around there were these multi-level water works situated, and that was pretty cool. Yeah,
I think that's in Singapore, actually.
it's what?
Not sure. Might be Singapore,
Singapore.
actually.
Yeah, you're right. It might be somewhere else. Oh, here's another picture of it. This looks a little bit more like what we did. This is the inspiration for sure. We don't have any monorails in ours, but these walls here, like being kind of like hanging gardens feeling going on. Yeah, that's what it looks like, and that big structure would actually be down here in the gardens, right next to the academy. It's like basically right in this valley. There's like a few stairs that kind of go down directly into it too. So again, all these different fields of science kind of come together, cooperate. Well, this is weird. Look at these interesting clothes that they're wearing. These animals are just like in stuff. Okay.
Rabid dog.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah. GPT's art is like it's real janky. It's not really like usable. It's just vibey, you know. And it does do an okay job at like coloring things intentionally. It's like, oh, this is this faction, that's the other one, you know.
definitely giving Planet Crafter.
Yeah, that did look like Planet Crafter a little bit. So yeah, I mean that's all the images I'd bother go through right now. I think we showed off Xandria a bit today, and we're coming to the end of the stream. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I think we close up here?
No, I think we covered a lot of territory, and we're gonna just kind of hone in our presentation methods as we continue to build this thing out.
Mm-hmm. This and other projects. Yeah, we're always learning here. So any feedback, any suggestions for what could be done to improve, leave them in the comments. Everything that you need to know is in the description. Our description, I have the Gumroad in the description too, by the way, going forward, and also our Etsy. We have all kinds of stuff on there to support us and help us do this kind of research.
Stop by the gift shop, please.
Stop by our gift shop on your way out, please.
But if you are particularly interested in seeing this built out in one game or another, we're also very open to suggestion, because it's been kind of a long time waiting for things to catch up, to kind of be at a level that's more fun. We've looked into infinite number of different RPG builders and D&D supplements. Ultimately, we would like for this to be a playable experience that we'd like to open up and offer to our Discord people. We'd like to perhaps do like a live session every week and have some fun doing some game stuff, and then do some technical stuff. Do some hardcore research. So we're gonna switch back to that mode for next week. But hopefully, this was a little bit fun, a little bit informative, maybe inspiring. Perhaps.
Felt like trying it out. We try everything at least once. In terms of live streams and projects, we kind of got a bazillion projects going on at every given time. So you never really know what you're going to get next, but yeah. Feel free to ask. All right, thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next week, next Sunday. Bye, everybody.
See ya.